and sorry, I meant mirror. So we can continue. Yeah, can continue working on our Power Company app. Okay, okay. All right. So I believe you can see my screen. Oladipo, can we start now?
All right, you can.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right. So first off, quick one from the last session, we were trying to gather a couple of details here. We still have a lot to cover, but this is where we kicked off from. A couple of details about Oladipo. Um, so for today, we are going to cover the remaining items we have here, which is the reason to use the reason for Oladipo, to use our product, and also the reasons why you should buy our product, and that is if um, probably we have like a paid feature. We're not going to talk much about this, but basically, when it comes to apps and monetization processes or monetization patterns, we have premium solutions. We also have freemium solutions. So we might decide to say we want to show the users, such as Oladipo, a couple of like a couple of adverts. Maybe after performing some series of operations, we show them some adverts, and that is a way to monetize the solution. Or we can ask him to pay for some features. We don't really need to go that route on this particular application. So you need to understand that it largely depends on what you're building. This is an application for a business, right? For a business, and definitely the business have their own way of making money, which of course is based on the subscriptions, right? It's based on the subscriptions that the users pay for. So you don't need to bring in adverts. Neither do you need to add any feature, except the company requires that you work on something like that. So, but we're not going to cover that. So let's just talk about the reasons why Oladipo would want to use our solution. Yeah, so I think we can proceed with the questions. And remember, as I explained in the last session, when asking, when you're on a call, when you're on an interview with a user, you have to make sure you ask them questions in such a way that they would be open to answer, instead of trying to box them into choices. I think one of the pattern I've seen most times is designers or researchers trying to ask users questions and they are given options. For example, Oladipo, why would you want to use our product? Are you primarily trying to use our product for payment, or are you trying to use our product for just kind of like seeing the current value, or the current subscription value you have left on your meter? So I think instead of giving options like that, that's a very bad approach. Except maybe the application you are building is just it's just going to serve two major functionalities. But at the same time, I still think it's better to hear from the user, because the user might actually have some features in their mind that they are expecting to see on your app, that you did not even think of, right? So give them the freedom to state what they want, and at the end of the day, you can decide to probably pick a couple of new ideas from there. So Ladipo, let's get started. Can you please give me? Hope you remember what we're working on, Ladipo. You brought up the idea, and I know it has been a while.
Yes, I do.
Oh, awesome.
I do.
All right, so go ahead and tell me. I mean, why would you want to use this product? Yeah.
Okay, so I would like to use this product because I would like to be able to, create my power bills at my convenience and even at any time.
Okay. Okay, so is that all?
Yes, and also if there is a feature that I can even be able to, see my current value, so that I won't have to be checking every time. So I can just see it maybe when I'm at the office and I see that it's about to run, I can just make the payments at once.
Okay, so let's try this. Let's try this approach. So once more, for those of you listening, I want to try an approach. We call it the five whys, right? The five whys. So there's a simple PDF on these processes that I'm compiling for you guys. Hopefully, you should get it on the resource channel or your room channel by Sunday. So it's a book that will cover a lot of things around not necessarily using Miro, but around user research. So this pattern is called the five whys, and this is how it works. It's very simple, but it's very effective. So Oladipo, you said you would like to pay for bills at your own convenience. So which means I'm trying to okay, yeah, my spelling, okay. Don't mind me. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is to keep asking Oladipo, series of whys. Of course, you don't want your question, you don't want your why question to be too much, else it will look, very playful. So, Oladipo, tell me why you think this would be nice for you, right? This particular feature.
Okay, so it will be nice because it will save me a lot of time, so that I'll be able to focus on other things that I have to do, and also the benefit of having power supply 24/7 without any breakdown, because there are some times that I may want to, when the power may go off, maybe at a odd time or at an inconvenient time, or when I cannot even be able to, go and recharge, and the people there are not around to do that for me. So I like it to do it even in the middle of the night, any time of the day, I should be able to do that.
Ah, awesome. Okay, so also you said you would want to see the value directly from the app. I mean, these are great responses, but I mean, don't you think there's yeah, sorry if the sound, oh my god, this is so embarrassing. Okay, so is there any other app? I mean, I believe there should be like a couple of features you might want again on this application. So just go ahead and be free. Just tell me what else do you think you might want from this app?
Okay, what else should I want from the app?
I
To be
mean,
able
you
to,
have
get recent. Can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you now. Go on, please.
Okay, all right. So to be able to get recent updates regarding the present situation of power in Nigeria.
Olaripo.
Yes, that's important regarding any changes, that because I'm also a beneficiary of the system of electricity supply in the country. So I'd like to know if there are any changes coming. I may be able to know why, okay, this particular amount I paid for this tariff was not up to the unit I got the last time, or any kind of changes like that. So I can be able to, any just kind of new information that is being spread either from the government or from the bodies that is in charge of electricity in the country.
Okay. So how often would you want to get these updates? Probably, of course, we'll have a lot of news, about electricity, probably like daily, weekly. How often would you want? So, I mean, what I just did right now is actually bad. I just said daily, weekly. Ideally, I'm not supposed to go that route because I've actually boxed him now into probably wanting to pick, daily or weekly. Maybe he might want to pick bi-weekly, right? So you don't have to do something like that. And yeah, just feel free and tell me how often would you want to receive these notifications, because as expected, too much notifications from this app might also be a problem, right? Okay, so over to you. How often do you want to receive this
Okay, for me, I would prefer it to be once there's any new update on the app, I should get a notification because I'm the kind of person that always puts on the notification for any app I'm using. So once I get a notification, even though I don't respond to it immediately, once I check my dashboard on my phone or on my system and I see that okay, I have some series of notification, I can just go there at my convenience. It might be in the middle of the night and just go through it. So if I can be reminded regarding any updates that they have on the I appreciate that.
sorry, please. Sorry, my attention was yeah. Sorry about
Very
that.
good.
Can you just
All right.
repeat? You said how often again, please?
I said that as me, the kind of person I am, I would prefer it to be, I should be updated as the information is coming. If there's any new updates, if there's any new blog post that they just did, I would like to get a notification because I'm the kind of person that puts on my notification for every app I have. So once I get the notification, even though I don't attend to it immediately as I see it, once I go through my dashboard and I see the list of notifications I have, if it's interesting, I can go through it.
Okay. Okay, so that is I'll put that around frequent updates. All right, okay, so that's great. So one thing you need to understand is, of course, a lot of users are going to end up having different opinions on what they expect to get from the application, and that's the point, right? So that's the point. You have to gather as many details, as many information as you can. Then at the end of the day, you have to look at those. You have to look at. For me, I would personally measure this in percentiles, right? So I'll bring in like the response from different users and try to look for patterns. Like what is that particular feature that have the most amount of votes from the potential users that we've interviewed. So if maybe we have like 80% of the users saying they want to be able to see the value directly from the mobile app, I think by default, I think it's something you have to really look at from the meter, right? But bringing it to the mobile app is awesome. Also, remember that while implementing a design, you don't want to end up implementing something that is unrealistic. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. If the value on the meter, if the meter is probably designed by maybe like an international body or something, maybe like from China. Of course, you have to do your research and ask questions. You ask, for example, the power company. This value showing on the meter. Is it possible for us to get this value over like an API? So of course, you are not a developer. But these are questions you need to ask because at the end of the day, you don't want to come up with your wireframe and it has been accepted. You come up with your mock-up, and at the end of the day, developers are telling you this is practically impossible except we communicate with the manufacturer of this hardware from China, right? And I think the reason why I'm able to ask these questions is, of course, I've been in meetings where we are being asked if we can connect to some kind of third-party hardware device, and sometimes the answer is no, not because we cannot connect, but because the manufacturer manufacture these products in such a way that anyone can just purchase and do some integration. But unfortunately, the integration does not support exposing those kind of details, for other people to connect to. You understand? So except the manufacturer is developing that particular device for you, understand, for you, which is the company, and it's possible to ask them directly. Of course, they should be able to do that. So yeah, the best thing you can do is to always, everything we've done so far is just for one user, and of course, you might want to interview as many users as you can, and definitely going to set like a time frame for these calls. Something you have to understand is people are busy, and people enjoy being asked for your interview sessions should plan and some else will definitely consider 30 minutes to be right? You don't have to be lively, make decisions lively, the process. So this is what we've gathered so far. We don't expect our users to it's more like a support application, not just the user, right? So it's going to improve because everything is becoming automated. Which of course are the user about many questions that will definitely come under personality. I did not just to do this personality or live call. When they call someone for conversation, so they will be details, but just to understand that this already gave you, something.
Sorry, Marvelous. You are breaking up and I'm not seeing your screen. I don't know if it is my network or if anyone's experiencing that.
So so I was explaining. I was talking about the templates that you already have from Miro. So I think that's the major reason why most of us would advise folks that are coming into UI UX to at least try their hands on Miro because the app provides you with a lot. But of course, you can also decide to use some other tools. As a matter of fact, you can even use the Figma Jam environment to quickly come up with some of these things. But when you don't have a template, it will be difficult for you to wrap your head around the kind of diagrams and the components of these diagrams, right? So it's always advisable to try to start with this. So I think we also created an affinity map template the other time. Let's go ahead and proceed to the next step. Yeah. So we're going to bring in this option after we have either a wireframe or a mockup. Just to interact with just to make sure that the user is able to follow through. Ideally, I would want to start sketching this on paper first, but since we're on this call, we're going to use Miro for that. And I hope you guys have done the assignments. I'm also going to give a grace to the submission of that assignment. I think the link was shared with you where you can submit the link. You can submit a link of your work, and it will be closed shortly. So I think tomorrow I think tomorrow by 6 p.m. The link will be closed. So make sure you submit the assignment before that time. Okay. So given what we have right now, I think the next thing would be, let me ensure that you can see. Okay, good. You can. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to look at right now is wireframing. Just to quickly come up with something. I'm going to be fast, but I'm going to also show you a couple of tools that can, ace your wireframing process. Okay, so I see someone is dropping a couple of message. Okay, yeah, that's great. The daily hour power consumption. This is great, but of course, this is not coming from. Unfortunately, we did not interview you. Well, I mean, this is a very great, very good idea, right? You want to know which home appliance gadget is consuming the most power. Well, that is interesting, and you see what I'm talking about. So you have different users coming up with different great ideas, but now you are going to end up doing something very complex because you need to have access to see the gadget using that particular load, right? So which means it's now going beyond the mobile to the meter communication. Right now it's coming into your home, making it a smart home application, right? Which is great, but I think we're already going out of context, right? So yeah, nice feature, but of course out of context, sorry. Okay, so I discovered this font type that I think you guys need to know as well. Let me open up Google Font. I have to share my browser here as well, so just give me a minute. um just give me 1 minute. I need to first quickly search for what's the name of this font. Okay. Okay, so I think it's called Flow, right? It's called Flow Block. I'm trying to just 1 minute, please. I'm going to be sharing my screen shortly. Let me first make sure I get the font. Okay, yeah, called Secular. Okay, so let me share my screen now so you can see my browser. I'm going to change the screen, change window. Okay, so I believe you can see my browser screen. So it's called Secular Font, right? So you can just get it. It's called Flow Secular. I'm going to share the link with you, and it's a great choice for when you're doing wireframes. You can also check out. I think it's called Flow. Let me verify that. Flow Secular. So this is Flow Secular, Flow Rounded, and the rest of them. So of course, you're not really certain about the texts you're going to write. Yeah, so you can just use this. So it's quite simple. So I'm going to share different tools that I think you would need. The first one is called icon sets. Just in case you want to put in icons, of course, you need icons when you're doing your mockup, right? But I'm just going to share this right now. You can just use simple boxes to showcase the position where you're going to have icons. But at the same time, it's good to kind of like illustrate what your icon should look like, because just putting, especially when you're doing mobile wireframes, just putting those boxes would not really explain the action that button or that particular item should perform. So let me share this here. So you can download that icon set, and I mean it's amazing because it's free. I've been using a lot of tools for my icons until I discovered this, and I was really amazed because you can download this for Windows or Mac OS, and at the end of the day, all you have to do is just come down to free icon sets, and you have over 20 icon packs or more, that you can easily utilize. And I'm currently using this now. I use this for I think it's icon set, not this. Continue, take this off. So I use this a lot today. You see I have a lot of icon sets I can easily use, and unlike some other apps, it gives you the vector icon, which means if you put this icon into your design tool, you can also go ahead and manipulate the icon. It doesn't give you raster the PNG, but of course vectors. So this is great. Also, font base. So using design tools is very difficult to manage or preview your fonts properly before you use it. So this is font base, and I think for Windows users this is going to be great for you, and I think it's free. Yeah, it's free. So download this. For me, I use typeface. So if you're a Mac user, you can also go ahead and utilize typeface or write fonts. Um, but I don't think those two apps I mentioned work for Windows. So let me go ahead and paste this as well. Font base or type font. So I'm going to show you how to install not type font. I mean write fonts. Yeah. So I'm going to show you how to install the fonts. If you get a font from Google Fonts or from any other sites, you can also check out a site like the fonts for your fonts. That's when you're implementing, right? But for now, let's just go on and test this. So this is Flow Circular. I have two fonts I'm proposing here. Flow Circular. Okay, let's just stick to Flow Circular. I think one is fine. So I'm going to download. So what I'm going to do now is, as you can see, I have a lot of options here that I can add, right? Or I can take off. By default, Flow Circular gives you different weights, right? Different weights, and I believe you know what font weight is. Let me also go ahead and just open up Figma, or probably I think I will be able to show you from here. So let's see if I can. Okay, so I doubt I'll be able to show. So, but font weight is basically talking about, so let's say fonts. Let's just say fonts. Yeah. So when you apply this, this is just simple bold, Control B. But font weight is going to determine the weight of your font when you are currently implementing the design on the web or maybe on the mobile interface. You don't just use direct bold. Most times you won't just want to stick to bold or normal or regular. Most times you want to specify the weight of the font using numbers, and these numbers range from 100 to 900. Just so you know, right? So that when you're implementing something, you won't come up with a design that would be difficult for the developers to understand. So I would go ahead and click on download family. Now the font family has been downloaded. So all I have to do is expand this, right? So I have Flow Circular, right? So I just have to double click on this. So font files come in different formats. You can have like WOFF, but this is TTF, which stands for True Typeface, I believe. Yeah, just to avoid making true type font. Okay, true type font. Okay. So you just have to double click on this, and of course you can see it's giving me the prompt to install. And of course, same thing, you have to also double click on your Windows machine to give you the prompt to install. So I click on install fonts, and I have Flow Circular font installed. All right, so the next thing is to check if I can access this directly from the app, or maybe I would have to reload the app again. But let's verify. I don't think this would be. I don't think we'll be able to get this font type on Miro, but let's check. Let's check. Okay, so of course, I think Miro is kind of like limited. You can only use a couple of font types here, but of course, you can definitely use all the fonts you have on your machine on Figma. So just so you know, you've learned how to install a font, and if I have Figma opened up, we can use it there. So let's quickly start working on this. As a designer, I would first try to gather a couple of resources, maybe like on Dribble, on Pinterest. So I do this all the time just to get sort of like inspiration, right? So let's quickly go down to Google, Pinterest first. Pinterest. Okay. Um, Also Dribble, but I'll just search for probably power company app. Okay, so let's see what we have from the search results. So I think it's called Energy App, but we have to also ensure that what we're looking at. This is Outcrowd, no? So I think probably we should. This is solar energy. Yeah, so I expect that most of them would give us stuffs regarding smart homes, right? But remember, we already have our use case, so you don't need to come down here and start trying to pick new features. We're not picking features from here. We're just trying to understand, the experience that most users might have gotten from, previous applications, and what we think would be the best way to. I think I like this. I like the simplicity around here. We're not implementing the mock-up yet. But of course, your wireframe need to depict what your mockup might look like at the end, because of course layouts and all that. So I like the fact that this we just have like actions, so we can have these actions for like the main features we're trying to cover here. We might have this showing like the value or the amount we have left in the meter. Um, yeah, so what else are we looking at here? Let's come back to this and let's see what we have. Hmm. Okay, so of course we need to come up with. I'm trying to pick. So we have one, two, three. Basically, everything I have here, if put together, just have like three primary features, right? So the first one is we just need to be able to make the payment, right? Also see the value while before it expires. Of course, you should be able to like track. Okay, I have like probably 10,000 naira left, 5,000 naira left on this meter. um, okay, so these are just some of the main reasons why you need to have this. Then the updates, right? So which means we're looking at more like news, or I don't know. So you have to give it a good name that a lot of people would understand. And of course, Oladipo called these updates. Um, so updates, I think it's better if we have like news. News is something that I believe a lot of users are already familiar with. But of course, you have to interview so many users and try to compare what are they really calling this. Are they really calling this updates or news or blog? Of course, calling it blog is not a good option. Yeah, so I'm going to call this. Now, the question I'm asking myself is: do we really need more like a side menu? There are some applications where you need to have that, but there are some other applications where it doesn't seem to look, necessary. How many features do we have, and is it necessary we put it on the side menu, or we can just, have a simple screen describing all these things? So let's go back to our browser. Yeah, so I like this, and what I'm going to do is just take a screenshot. Now remember that you're not copying the design. Basically what you have to do at the end is you're just trying to work with the layout, right? um, and of course you're not expected to even make use of everything here. You might have to just use this as a source of inspiration. So for designers, I think there's something they call a mood board, which is not compulsory that you come up with. It's necessary because it gives you like you are able to set a mood for what your website or mobile should end up looking like in terms of like the theme. But you will definitely see most designers into like branding and all that working with mood boards. Um, so we are not focusing on anything web, of course. For now, it's just strictly mobile. So let's see what we have here. Okay, I don't think this is photo. This does not have anything to do with. So this is energy saving, current cost, monthly forecast. So we did not look at the forecast, but I think that's actually a good feature that you can also have. And we're not going to do that, but just so you are aware. I like the fact that this is giving us a chart. The only problem I have with this chart it's not something I think regular users can read. I would prefer you have something like this, for a mobile app. This simple chart right here, and this is also able to tell us energy usage. So let's go back and see what we have here. Current value. Okay. So I think energy usage is basically what someone dropped as a comment. Though we're not working with that on this particular implementation, but it's a good idea. And you can see we have something related to that as well. All right. So I think we're going to work with the other one. What about this? Okay. So let's try to.
Also, Marvel, uh,
Can you hear me?
there's an
What did you say?
check. I said there's a website we can check for they do stuff like this, buypower.com.
Okay. Do they have a mobile app? Are they based in Nigeria?
Yes, they have a mobile app. They are
Okay.
based in Nigeria. So
All right. So
search for that.
we'll check the website. But of course, remember that we're trying to make sure we implement something that is in line with your research. Of course, not. So I think we're trying to solve a problem for a specific audience, which in this case is just you. Yeah. So
Of
let's try to
course.
solve the problem. Yeah.
All
Okay.
right.
So I think I still like this that I implemented the other time. So what I'm just simply going to do is to put in some of the key features. Of course, we're going to have a section. We're going to have some other screens like sign up, login, and all that. But for our main screen, I'm just going to put in the section where I feel we should have our user. So our user's image. And of course, your wireframes do not really have to be perfect until you move them into um, the environment where you're going to work on. So I'm just where you're going to work on the mockup. So I'm going to just call this. We don't have a name for this app yet, so let's just call it energy. This is kind of energy. So let's change this to basic. It's in basic. All right. So if you have any question why we're using this, why we're bringing in this logo, this is intentional. If you have a couple of features and you want to optimize your space, yes, you can probably have like an hamburger menu if you want to that brings up the sidebar. We're not doing that. Of course, remember you have a couple of components here lying around, so you have to make sure you're creating good level for your space. Okay, what I'm thinking of putting here right now is let's see what tool I will put in here. Let's see. So this is going to carry it's going to show us the consumption level. So let's just say let's try to measure this in percentage. But of course, let's assume you recharge like 10,000, for example. So it's possible for you to say you want to get your value, your remaining value. I don't really know how this works. So maybe while you're using it, this should be dropping, I expect, right? Oladipo, is that correct?
Yes, yes, you're correct.
Okay.
The
So
unit will be dropping as you're using it.
okay, so like you buy units, right? So this should be like units, not amounts. So let's assume
Yeah,
10,000 units. Is it possible? 10,000 units. Then
yeah.
as you use this, it drops. Yeah, so the units drop. Okay, then I want to also put this in percentage. And of course, you can choose to go with one option. The reason why I want to also go with percentage is I'm very sure that I mean, this is something I would love to ask the user, right? So this is something I would love to ask the user. Do you want to see? Do you prefer to see? I can have like multiple variants of this implementation, this wireframe. Do you want to see the units drop, or you want to be notified in percentage? Maybe you have like 90% left, you have like 50% left, right? So a lot of people love seeing the values in percentage. A lot of people like it, when they see the value like the The
actual.
amount, yeah, of the units. So which do you prefer, Oladipo?
I'll prefer the actual unit.
Okay, okay. So let's stick with the units. So I'm just going to units. Just quite remaining. Let's see. Okay, so units remaining. Drop this into okay, a bit like this. Okay, so we have the units remaining. Probably just showing us here. Um, then we have a bunch of these are going to be icons, of course, but I'm not going to leave this icon, so I'm going to take off this. So these are just actions. I'm going to describe those actions with text. Then when you work on the mock-up, you can make it look beautiful and more colorful. So for now, let's just change the color of this to white. Okay. So looking at what we have on the actionable list here. Okay. Bills. Okay. So what we can do is you can have multiple screens. So maybe you can have like an action button for bills, or you call it utility. Then when you open that screen, you can have like history. Maybe you want to view your history. Probably you want to share a previous. Maybe you want to see like when you click on the history, you see like a previous bill. You want to be able to share with someone, via PDF. Just like when you're using your mobile banking app, there's so many of those features, right? But we're trying to make this simple, right? So maybe just like 2 or 3 screens solving this problem. So I think it's better to bring in features when the users say they want them, or maybe during the section where you have to like review what you've done, and the users are saying, okay, what if I want to see the history, right? So don't put in a lot of things, because if you are to go by the possibilities of what you should put in here, they are actually like a lot, right? So it's good to streamline to solve the problem you're trying to solve for now. So let's just call this pay bill. Make it straightforward that this button or this actionable section here takes us to um, making the payments. As simple as that. Okay, so the next one we should be looking at is probably um, let's see. Mm,
Or if there's also a wallet option where you can
Um,
just put it in and maybe
yeah,
when
so that's great. I mean, having a wallet is a good option. But you need to also understand that there are lots of. So, if I may ask, the current application, the previous application that you were showing me the other time, is it? Do they have a wallet?
I'm not sure, but
Okay,
yes,
so
I think they do because they allow
yeah,
the payment of
the reason why
you
I'm
can
asking is yeah. So the reason why I'm
okay.
asking is because you might want to allow them put in their credit card, and probably allow some platform do the transaction for you. If you choose to have a wallet, it's great. It means you have to always top up, which I think is not a bad idea. So e-wallets. I don't know what's wrong with my spelling today, but looks like okay. So e-wallet, which means so what your e-wallet should look like is of course we're going to end up having. Let's probably go ahead and work on some of the basic squares. But because of time, I'm just trying to do kind of like the most important ones. So let's go ahead and take this off, take this off. So I'm going to have this screen, for something very basic. This should be more like the okay username and password, and your final button. So it's on. Okay, so always remember that when you're working on sign in and sign up flow, you also need to like bring in a couple of questions here. How do you think your users will be most comfortable with authentication? Would they want to use their social their social accounts to log in and sign up easily? I think what I've seen in most recent apps is it's a good idea to have that as an option, right? So that they can just do the one-click sign up thing. So this should be login, right? So if you want to have those options, you can just have them right here. Probably log in with Facebook, log in with social, probably Google, and let's see what is going on here. Okay. Yeah, so you can have that at the bottom here. A couple of folks will also put this at the top, and there's no way I can say this is better or that is better. At the end of the day, this is something that is going to be influenced by your users and not not any random decision. So hope nobody's having issues with connecting to my screen. It's not Facebook. Okay, so at the end of the day, you have to make this. You have to work on the information architecture just to make sure that people don't get confused. But I'm just going to leave it this way. Facebook, Google. At least you get the point, right? So, and try your best not to waste too much time on this. I'm just trying to make sure everyone follows along, right? So this is that's our sign in, um, sign in, sign up, and this is more like the main page. There's also something called the splash screen when you're working on your mobile applications. And of course, everyone knows the splash screen, but just in case you don't know, the splash screen is that particular screen you always see first, maybe like you're opening WhatsApp or Facebook, all that you see. Probably sometimes it's just a beautiful logo, but I'm going to use, so our application is called, I'm going to call it One Energy. Um, yeah, this has to be black. Peak. Okay, so that's our splash screen. We have the sign up screen, and when signing up, I expect that you might have more details you're collecting, but we don't want to take too much as well. We don't want to spend, so just as a good practice, you don't want to waste your users' time, right? So just make sure you're not doing too much of data collection at this stage. You might want to just accept their username and password and probably their email, right? Then maybe when you are in, you can decide to accept more details. So just understand that you can decide to have like sign authentication process, and maybe like when they are done, you give them like a wizard that will guide them through putting in some other vital details. So in this kind of system, of course, they need to configure their wallet, they need to configure their profile, possibly address and verify addresses and all those kind of stuff. I don't know, but I think it largely depends on the business and the way the business operates. So if maybe it is very important that the company should probably have the user's address. You can make it as a priority, but you might not want to put it as a priority during sign up. So this is where the your user experience thinking process would come in. You might not want to put the address during the initial sign up because it might turn some people off, using your application. So what you should do is allow them put in the main. The major thing is you want a lot of people to first, get the experience. What is this app used for? Okay, once I sign up, what's the next thing? Then they can now follow the process through step by step. The moment I've seen a lot of beginners, you put in like almost 10 different fields here. I mean, I personally would not use that application, and as a matter of fact, you would not use the application if you except it's something very important and you are the only one doing it. And your users will find it very difficult. So let's just say we are accepting the full name, email address, right? So let's just call this email, and let's put in the password. Then probably we also want to confirm password. This is something we would want to do. So let's go ahead and duplicate this as well. Sign up. Okay, or sign up with social. All right. So okay, so you have we have our splash screen. We have our sign up page. We have our sign in page. Very basic. I think this has to be email, right? Okay. Then finally, we enter the main screen. And on the main screen, we see the units remaining. So which means even if this person tops up, it's still going to carry units remaining, right? This is what you have in your meter currently. We are supposed to have a kind of like a configuration section where I think you have to actually connect to your meter, right? Probably using like a meter ID or meter number. Of course, you have to do your research because you have to be very sure, and this has to be part of the process, which is, your conversation with the company. They tell you how this works. You are not an engineer, so definitely you also need to have a conversation with your engineer that will tell you it's possible, to connect this to the meter using this, right? You don't just assume. So when you're working on the configuration page, you won't assume there's something like a meter ID when there's not, right? So let's just go ahead and call this settings. Or you might want to have your settings on the side menu if you end up working on the side menu. And what I mean is, if maybe you decide to implement a simple side menu somewhere around here. Yeah, so maybe you want to. I don't think I would leave this, but let's just see. Probably we'll have more. I don't want us to have something that will end up becoming too much. So you have this here. So just maybe um, so now we're working on two options. So let's just say we have like pay bill here, we have e-wallet. Or let's start with pay bill. Sorry, profile. Pay bill and profile. Then maybe you have the e-wallets or just wallets. I think it's better wallet. So I think a lot of people are actually more familiar with wallets, but I'm just going to leave this as e-wallets. Then we also have like configuration or settings. So of course you need to make sure you are consistent with your spacing. Okay, not a priority at this stage, anyways. Okay, so you have like this menu items. Um, okay, quite empty though. Okay, so you have like this menu items, of course, with icons. We don't have those icons yet, so we can just go ahead and drop a very simple box or circle just to indicate that yes, we're going to have icons here to explain these things. Just drop this here, drop this here. Okay. All right. So is it possible to just select this because I'm trying to move it away? Okay, that's not working. What I'm trying to do is just to make sure we balance this well, but yeah. Okay, so you can decide to do this way and probably end up having like your latest news or updates right here, if that is something you think you prefer. Um, let's. I don't think I would want to put profile here on this layout. Rather, I would want, I would want the person to click on this because this is expected to be the profile, right? The profile card. I would expect, you click on this and it takes you to your profile. But what you can do from here directly is your settings, your wallet, um, so remember that this is a very simple app. In some other use cases, you might want to have like the menu options. I'm sure you have seen that in most apps as well. It's not compulsory. It depends on what you're building once again. But yeah, so this is also a way to. I mean, there are some basic patterns, right? There are some basic patterns that you might want to explore because they're already known to the users. What we have right now is just a very simple navigation pattern. Click on this to do this, click on that, and from here you can decide to put in like the home icon, probably the profile icon, maybe like 3 or 4 icons, and then you have to change what you have here. But looking at the features we have, that is kind of pointless here. Or you can decide to put those items that I mentioned here as icons, and then you have your cards showing you news, right? Which is one important feature. So now you are seeing we are able to model this like in 3 different forms, and we can actually ask the user to go with one option, right? And when they are looking at this, they would end up telling us, okay, can we do this? Can we do that? And that is the use case where we can now say, okay, let's probably add more features when they start mentioning these other things, right? So what I said earlier is we can also do something like this. Take this off, expand this, make this. Okay, so right here we can have. Come on. So right here we can have like updates. So I think I should call this news. We have of course, you know what's best when it comes to modeling your news, right? But I think by default, you have like the main title of your news, right? You have like the description of the body. Go on too much. How I wish they have a way to give us like a plugin to give us dynamic content. Yeah. So you have like a bunch of these texts. Let's drop this a little bit. So you can have like a bunch of these texts, right? Okay, so that's more like the description and the heading of this. Okay, so you can have more of this just showing in. You can have like more of this just displaying here as your news. I'm going to take off this one. I don't think I need that. Yeah. Okay. So, but I'm very sure you get the point. So, you know, when you open this, then you get to pay the bill, check your profile, e-wallet settings. Yeah. So of course, it's a good idea to also reference already existing applications like Oladipo mentioned. For me, I think the reason why we're trying to stick to this is because remember I said we're trying to solve a problem. We're not just trying to do any random mock-up, right? So we're just trying to stick to the problem that we discovered. When you interview more users, definitely you will get more response. You'll be able to add more features to your system. But of course, we only did one interview, so this is what we have so far. This is our simple wireframe, done with Miro, and yeah, I think so far we don't want to add any feature, but I would want Oladipo to go ahead and pick one of these. We have other screens that we need to develop, right? We have other screens, and I think we already ran out of time, but we have other screens. Um, we have like the pay bill screen, and this is also part of the UX process, right? Because you need to ask yourself when someone is about to pay a bill, what and what do you want to collect, right? When they want to pay a bill, should we first ask them to configure their wallet first, right? So once they configure the wallet, they should be able to top up. So when they want to pay a bill, are we going to accept the money straight from their credit card? Do we need to save the credit card information? Um, or do we just ask them to keep topping up the wallet? And if they are going to top up the wallet, do we have specific plans, right? Like 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, or we should make it very dynamic so they can even top up even 200 naira. How do you want it? So these are part of the, I mean, engineers would not do this job. This is part of your job. You have to determine, how this product should function at the end of the day. Are we going to allow them top up like 10, 20,000, 30,000 naira? And are we going to give like kind of like a percentage to say if you top up a larger amount, you get a discount, so stuff like that at the end of the day is your job, and the decision of the company, of course, to think about that and come up with something solid. Um, yeah, so I don't think we'll be able to work on those screens right now because of the time. But let's just end up picking one of these from this session. So remember, we have like the blogs. I think we did not add that here. So if we're going with this view, right, or this view, then definitely we're going to have this side, the side menu. But if we're going with this view, then probably all we need to do is to add an extra, menu that will take us to the blog section. So let's just go ahead and add one extra. Come on, let's see. Okay.
Sorry, Marvelous. I also like to add that at that
Okay.
space where we are putting units remaining for 10,000, I'm seeing some free space at the top. So we can just put welcome and the name of the user there.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting one too. So that works. Okay, so this should be probably, I don't know, latest news. Yeah, so that works. Yeah, so our spacing is already messed up, but of course I can just use the grouping option here to group these items, so I can end up using the default feature to tidy things up. Okay. Okay, so I think this is not working well with the circular items we implemented. Let's see if we have another feature we can use for this. I don't think we I don't think we do have any. Okay. All right. So I'm going to just leave this like this for now. Yeah. So what Oladipo is saying we can add here is to probably put like a welcome message, and it's even possible to have like the time of the day, if it's morning, afternoon, evening, good morning this, good morning that, or just welcome, and then the name of the user. So just say username. It's possible to have this here, or you can even take this down and probably put this on top. So I think it all depends on how you think is best. But remember that of course this is your wireframing stage. So your wireframing stage is actually focusing more on solving this specific problem, and allowing your users to probably come here and say, okay, so imagine you have this. Some of the best wireframes is something that the users can actually navigate themselves. The potential users can navigate themselves without having to explain to them. So if a user comes to this, I mean, definitely they will find this very simple. Oh, okay, so this will show my units remaining. I can pay bill. I can, what is the e-wallet? Definitely they might ask that, and you can just say it's a way to top up, your wallet with us, so that once your unit is running out, you can easily, pay for it without having to always reach out to your credit card all the time. And of course, they might love this. and then okay, settings as expected. They click on setting, and you give them the settings page, where they can configure probably the theme of the app, light or dark. Where they can configure some other things, right? I think we have two settings here, which is kind of wrong. I think this was supposed to be kind of like news or something, electricity news. So when you just leave something without a proper context, for example, we have news, they will be tempted to say, okay, what are we also doing news here? What are we expecting to see? But if you have something like, like kind of like a term you can use to describe to say, okay, this news is centered around electricity. Definitely, you've given them more context, and that is way better. Or if you decide to use this side menu, they can easily click on probably like probably you should have like an hamburger menu here that you can easily implement using the line tool. Right, you can easily implement that using the line tool. Um, 1, 2, 3. So 3. Okay. Okay. So 11 minutes. So I think it's getting too late already. Okay. So when they click on this menu, it gives them this. When they click on this item, it gives them this sidebar. So this is very basic, anyways. And of course, this is just the wireframe. At the end of the day, we have to make the choice of going with one of these options, and after which we also have to make this look beautiful, which is yeah. But right now you can actually work with what you get here, the feedback and the response you get from the user. You can use this to then start working on the journey map, right? You can use this to work on the journey map. We have the registration, the onboarding, the I mean, you can go ahead and change this to dashboard. So of course you can add more. So that's why you see that you can just click on plus. Let's move this first. Okay, so you see we can use the plus sign on this template to add like new steps. These are the steps, right? So let's take it off. Let's take it off. Take it off. Okay. Okay, so you can add more steps, right? And so when we're done with this, we're not done yet. Of course, we're expected to have like more screens, but basically you're already on track, and you have your main screen here. You can implement this one after the other: the pay bill screen, the profile screen, the latest news screen, right? The e-wallet screen, and when you're done with all this, you can then, of course, you're not doing prototyping here. Always remember that you're not doing prototyping, but we can decide to link this from one spot to another here. But I would advise you just wait till so these are the action points I'm just kind of like touching, right? um, so but you can definitely do this in some other robust app. Even Figma is a good option for this, right? So we're able to come up with something as simple as this. I think we're making good progress, right? We're making good progress. The next thing should be to probably have Oladipo use this, or tell us what he thinks, if this can solve his problem so far, and if he thinks this can solve the problem, or maybe he decides to bring in a couple of ideas again and say, oh, okay, all right, this is great, but what if we are able to do this, right? So this is the iterative. No, sorry about that. So this is kind of like the step-by-step process on wireframing, and of course, when you're done with your wireframing, then you can move on to implementing this as a mock-up. Yeah, so I believe you understand this, and I'm going to check if there are a couple of questions here. If you have any question, please go ahead and drop your question on the chat. Yes, 1 hour. I think it's kind of not enough, but I believe you learned something today. Uh, if you did learn something from this session and the last session, go ahead and let me know on the chat. Just give us some feedback on the chat here. And I think we're also going to share a feedback form with you on Sunday. But just go ahead and let me know, what you think about the session. Thank you very much for your time and have a wonderful night. Oladipo, so I think I will reach out to you before the next session, so we can also continue with this process and end up working on the mock-up at the end of the day. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for your time, Oladipo. Thank you for participating and contributing in this session. Till next time.
Thank you for the lesson so far.
Yeah.